Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into something absolutely fascinating today: the intersection of supernatural folklore, human curiosity, and the psychology of fear. We're going to be looking at some incredibly detailed, real world accounts gathered to explore exactly how the human mind processes terror, and honestly, how deeply ingrained cultural beliefs can literally manifest in our physical reality. Whether you're a total skeptic or a firm believer, the psychological mechanics at play here are, well, they're absolutely captivating. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Why on earth are we so drawn to things that terrify us? Human curiosity is this powerful, almost uncontrollable force. According to the source material we're looking at today, our psychological obsession with unseen dimensions actually stems from the simple fact that they are unexplainable. Think about it. We're totally comfortable with things we can easily see and define, right? Things like water or plants. But the absolute second something exists outside our visual or scientific comprehension, boom, our curiosity just skyrockets. We can actually define this as the curiosity of the unseen. It's basically the psychological drive to understand phenomena that we just can't visually define or scientifically explain. Now, neutrally speaking here, whether you genuinely believe in entities from some fourth or fifth dimension, or you strictly view all of this as psychological projection, the allure is exactly the same. It's the mystery. It's like the ultimate unsolved puzzle. To understand how visceral this can actually be, we're going to look at three very specific, highly detailed case studies from our sources that show this phenomenon in action. Section 1. Case Study 1, The Haunted House in Gujarat. So, picture this. It's the pre-COVID era around 2016 or 2017, and a family visiting from the US takes a sudden detour so their 81-year-old grandmother can visit a childhood friend's village in Gujarat. Well, things escalate pretty quickly once they get to this large, traditional home. The adults are absolutely thrilled to be reunited, right? So they decide to take a walk around the village, leaving the woman's 10-year-old American-born grandson alone in the living room with his tablet, and they lock the heavy main door from the outside. Around the 20-minute mark, the boy gets thirsty. He starts wandering around this unfamiliar, dimly lit house looking for a kitchen. At 25 minutes, he finds a heavy wooden door with a broken molding that kind of acts like a peephole. He peeks inside, his eyes adjust to the darkness, and he sees someone sitting in the shadows. What he actually sees is an old woman wearing a black sari, and she has these intricate tattoos completely covering her face. She smiles at him, but she's trembling violently. And then, around the 30-minute mark, a voice echoes from inside the room. "Come inside, son. Just open the door. I'll give you water. Your grandmother left you without water. Just open the door. I'll handle the rest." The boy is literally paralyzed with fear. He tries to run, but the voice seems to follow right behind him, distorting, growing way more aggressive, just screaming at him to come back. By minute 40, he's desperately trying to open that locked front door, but he can't, and he just collapses, fainting right there in the hallway. When the adults finally return an hour later, they find him unconscious. He wakes up crying, explaining in English that he saw this terrifying woman who tried to lure him in. Now, what's truly fascinating, and honestly chilling, is the homeowner's reaction. She just laughs casually. She explains, completely unbothered, that the boy just saw her deceased mother-in-law. Apparently, her spirit was locked in that specific room through religious rituals because she had allegedly harmed a servant in the past. This casual acceptance of a supernatural claim by the locals, directly contrasted with the absolute terror of the boy, perfectly highlights how cultural context completely shapes our experience of fear. Moving on to Section 2, Case Study 2, Weaponized Jealousy in Old Delhi. And this brilliantly illustrates the concept of human malice disguised as magic. In Old Delhi, during the late 80s or early 90s, a family running a highly successful bottle cap factory became the victims of some intense psychological warfare. The horror here didn't come from a random haunting. It was a calculated physical attack orchestrated under the guise of black magic. The family started finding cursed objects right at their doorstep. Step 1. It began relatively small, a packet of clipped nails with their eldest daughter's name written on it. Step 2. A packet of cut hair. The father, trying to be rational, just ignored it to protect his daughter's upcoming wedding. But then Step 3. It escalated to a severed dead cat left directly in their path. And finally, Step 4. The most invasive breach of all. A used sanitary pad hidden in a black bag right under the youngest daughter's bed. The real-world aftermath of this psychological torment was absolutely devastating. Just before her wedding, the eldest daughter suffered severe injuries in a horrific kitchen cylinder explosion, leaving 60% of her body covered in burns. To put that into perspective, the financial and emotional toll of the hospital bills, combined with this extreme paranoia from the cursed objects, it completely broke the father. He ended up suffering a massive brain stroke and slipped into a coma. While the father and daughter were hospitalized, the remaining family members finally uncovered the truth. And it wasn't some stranger targeting them. The family's own maid actually caught the cousin's wife, sneaking that final cursed bag into the house while pretending to bring them food and do their laundry. This entire tragedy was orchestrated by their own trusted family members, totally driven by deep financial jealousy. The victims ultimately had to abandon their home entirely, leaving it locked and empty to this day. It stands as a physical monument to how human malice can truly destroy lives. Section 3. Case Study 3. Supernatural Deception in Bangalore. This story takes us to Bangalore in 2009. It involves a pregnant lawyer, her work-from-home husband, and a vengeful maid who was fired after a pretty volatile physical argument where some serious threats were exchanged. Well, the morning after the maid is thrown out, the couple finds this terrifying arrangement of lemons, nails, and vermilion left at their door, which is a traditional curse. Just a short while after this, a mysteriously perfect new maid arrives, practically insisting on working for them. But as this new maid integrates into the home, the husband's behavior changes drastically. He becomes incredibly distant, he starts locking himself in his home office, and bizarrely, he begins wearing full-sleeved shirts constantly, which was just completely out of character for him. He was actually hiding unexplained whip marks. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the mind-bending twist. The pregnant wife, suspecting an affair, comes home early and catches her husband leading this new maid into his dark office. When she bursts in and turns on the lights, she actually slaps the maid. But in the ensuing argument, the twist is revealed. The wife is staring at a 75-year-old woman in a traditional Maharashtrian sari. But her husband, whose back is covered in those unexplained whip marks, is looking right at the exact same woman and seeing a beautiful 25-year-old. You literally have two people standing in the exact same room, perceiving two completely different realities. Section 4. Belief and Energy. So, how do we even process stories like this? Whether you think these events are literal supernatural occurrences or just extreme manifestations of psychological stress, the impact on the human mind is absolutely undeniable. This brings us to the concept of manifestation. In this context, it's the theory that focusing intensely on certain thoughts, fears, or narratives can actually attract corresponding energies or psychological states. Storytellers and folks who immerse themselves in folklore often report feeling like they're absorbing a heavy, tangible energy just by discussing these dark themes. The mind is just an incredibly powerful sponge. To manage this kind of psychological weight, the storyteller from our source material relies on very specific routines to maintain his mental health. He establishes incredibly strong mental boundaries, fully believing he has the power to repel negative effects. For example, after recording or writing about these dark subjects, he actively listens to religious verses or prayers for about 1 to 2 hours. Now, objectively speaking here, whether this is clearing actual spiritual entities or simply serving as a deeply personal psychological ritual to just decompress, the result is the same. It provides that necessary cognitive closure to separate his daily life from the darkness of his work. Which leaves us with this final, profound question. Are these dark encounters actual glimpses into an unseen, multidimensional reality? Or are they merely the terrifying, vivid projections of our own human nature, our guilt, our jealousy, and our deep-seated fears? The line between supernatural folklore and psychological reality is incredibly thin, and honestly, perhaps that's exactly why we just can't look away. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.